we can start the recording right now. It will be recorded. When it's done, it will be posted to the Federation website, so you can go back and look at it again. And we would like you to put all of your questions in the chat box, and we will ask the questions to Myra from there. So if you have questions, post them in the chat box. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mark Harris, who is the president of the Metro Milwaukee Ski Council and a past president of the National Ski Council Federation. He is on the education committee and took charge of coordinating this presentation. So I'm letting him take control right now. Again, thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you, Lisa. And yes, now I'm going to bring on Myra Altschuler, who has agreed to teach us everything about travel insurance. We're going to cover, well, 5 topics, but actually we're going to add one on. We're going to cover cancel for any reason coverage, medical care coverage while traveling, medical evacuation coverage, trip cancellation and trip interruption coverage, quarantine coverage, and another topic that Myra just brought up tonight, annual travel U.S. policy. So Myra's going to cover each one of those topics, but we're going to take a break after each topic, and we'll address the questions that people have typed in along the way. So we'll keep the questions to those topics and just keep it on focus that way. So Myra, I will let you go ahead and start introducing the first topic.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to say hello because I see a lot of people I know from different clubs here. So welcome and thank you for participating. And I am going to start with a little bit of knowledge regarding what type of travel insurance exists. I want to explain that there's only 2 types of travel insurance. There's medical and travel insurance that a lot of people buy if they want to cover themselves if they get sick or injured during the trip. They're not covering their trip costs. It's just medical insurance. So let's say you're traveling to Banff and you don't want trip cancellation, but you are concerned about getting injured or sick while in a country other than the United States. It would be Canada. So yet people buy medical insurance to cover them if they get injured or sick during that trip. That's one type of insurance. It's just called medical insurance. The second type is insurance that includes the medical as part of the package, but also includes trip cancellation, trip interruption benefits, and a slew of other benefits like coverage for lost and delayed luggage. So there's only 2 types of travel insurance. Medical is one, and then medical with trip cancellation. So let's start with the medical with trip cancellation, because under that heading, there are 2 types. There's standard trip cancellation and medical insurance, which is the least expensive. And then the second one is what's called cancel for any reason. So I'm going to explain the difference. The standard trip cancellation that comes with medical only allows you to cancel a trip or interrupt a trip for very specific reasons. And the most common reason is if you are sick, injured, or pass away, or if a roommate that you're traveling with or a travel companion is sick, injured, or passes away, or if an immediate family member is sick, injured, or passes away. So the number one common reason people cancel is for illness, injury, and death to them and if or immediate family member or someone they're traveling with. As long as you can prove that you are legitimately sick or injured or someone passed away, you can file a claim. You would be able to get 100% of your trip costs back. So that's the standard trip cancellation. It comes with medical and medical evacuation automatically. It's part of the package. That's one trip cancellation plan. The second one, which a lot of people misunderstand, is called cancel for any reason. Cancel for any reason has two parts. The first part, you can cancel if you're sick or injured or die, like the standard plan, and you will get 100% of your money back as long as you can prove you were sick or injured. You have to see a doctor. Number two part is if you cancel for any other reason. I'll give you some examples. If you want to cancel because the snow conditions aren't good, if you buy the cancel for any reason, you can cancel because of that. If you have a pet and your pet is sick, people buy the cancel for any reason in case they suddenly have to stay home. If there's an uptick in COVID or a new epidemic or pandemic, that also has to be covered under the cancel for any reason part of the policy. And cancel for any reason, if you do cancel for one of those reasons or anything else except illness, injury, or death, you will be refunded 75% of your money. So it's very important. Most people think cancel for any reason, they get 100% of their refund of their trip costs. No one gives you 100% of your trip costs if you cancel for those unusual reasons. But if you cancel because you're sick or injured or die, yes, you will get 100% of your trip costs. One other thing about the cancel for any reason, and both the standard trip cancellation and the cancel for any reason, it must be purchased. Well, let me put it this way. It should be purchased at least within 14 days of your very first trip deposit. That is critical. So cancel for any reason for sure. If you don't buy that plan within 14 days of your first trip deposit, you cannot buy it. No insurance company offers it. Also, you want to buy one of those plans within 14 days for anyone that has a pre-existing medical condition, asthma, diabetes, AFib, anything that would be something that could suddenly stop you from taking the trip because it could flare up again. You have to buy insurance within 14 days of your first deposit. So what's the definition of first deposit? If you pay the first deposit with a credit card, the definition is the date of the transaction of the credit card purchase. If you pay with a check, and this is also very confusing, if you pay with a check, the first deposit date is considered the date written on the check, not the date the check is cashed. A lot of people get that wrong, and sometimes it's too late and they can't buy. They can still buy the insurance. You can always buy insurance. There's no deadline, but you miss the opportunity of getting the cancel for any reason or getting coverage for pre-existing medical conditions. So I want to stop here because this is a lot, since I have a lot of people who misunderstand this. So I would like you to ask questions now if you would like to put them in writing. Or however you want them to put it in writing, right?
Yeah, the only one I've had come up so far is what about insurance for passes as in Icon or Epic? I'm not sure if we're really on that topic though.
Which topic is it? It was hard to hear you.
It was what about insurance for passes, Icon or Epic?
Right. Thank you. That's a great question. Great question. If any type of pass that you purchase is non-refundable, the key is you only want to insure non-refundable costs that you have paid in advance before you even leave home. You don't insure any costs that you're planning to pay when you get to your destination. Only insure non-refundable that you've purchased in advance. So if you've purchased an Icon pass in advance, you have to find out if it's non-refundable. You can definitely insure it. And you would tell me when we speak or when you email me, I'd like to insure my Icon pass. And I would ask you, okay, how much is that? And I would give you a cost for the Icon pass and the trip itself. So we combine the trip cost with the Icon pass. If the Icon pass is refundable and you're sure that it is, you don't have to insure anything that's refundable. Let me get on one other topic because this is important. My job is to save you money. I am from a working class background. And my background is you try to save your money as much as you can when you go shopping, food shopping, clothing shopping. And I bring that way of working to my work now. So, for example, a lot of people insure their airline tickets. And I tell them you don't have to insure your airline tickets if your airline tickets are refundable. So before you even contact me, make sure you find out, is your airline ticket refundable? If it is, you don't have to insure it. If your airline ticket is reusable, not refundable, but they'll hold it for you for a future trip within 1 year, and if you plan to use it again, then don't insure it. We're going to try to save you money because when you insure your airfare, you're paying too much money, especially if it's a non-refundable ticket. So did I do that okay? Did I answer the questions about Icon Pass?
Yeah, I think so. We've got quite a few that are popping up now. One of them was asking the difference with annual. We will get to that one later. This one I've heard come up before is the individual's deposit, not the club's deposit with the resort. And of course, it would be the individual that is insuring themselves.
Yes, your individual deposit, correct. Now, someone is saying that they can't hear you, Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it still a problem now?
I don't know who it was because it popped up and it's gone.
Yeah, it was a little problem earlier, but
Oh, from
I gotta
Brian.
go.
He says you're hard to understand. It's like it's slightly maybe garbled or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. How is it right now?
He says bad microphone.
Well, no, we were good with this before.
Just talk slow.
Yeah, I'll do that. Let me, I don't know if this works to turn off.
Now you're mute. We can't
Okay,
hear
that
you.
was, yeah, that's for some reason it mutes my phone. I don't know how that one works. Anyways, we got quite a few coming up here. Yeah,
She's got here, so for the pre-existing conditions coverage, that would include such a condition for a family member not traveling with you, but for whom you may need to stay home if their condition returns to flare up or advance, or if during your trip.
Great question. Pre-existing conditions apply to you, the traveler, and also to those family members that you may suddenly have to cancel your trip for because they have a pre-existing condition. So that means you have to buy the insurance within 14 days of the first deposit that you give to the club, not what the club plays, but the money you give to the club. Yes, that was a great question. Thank you.
And
okay. Is there insurance worth buying after last payment is made, but well before the trip start date?
I couldn't hear you this time.
Is there insurance worth buying after last payment is made, but well before the trip start date?
You can buy travel insurance if you don't have a pre-existing condition issue and you don't want to buy cancel for any reason. You can buy travel insurance up until the day of before your departure. But that's a big gamble because you want to buy the insurance before you are sick or before you are injured or before a family member is sick or injured. So you should buy it sooner rather than later. But you can buy it after you pay your final payment for sure if you don't have a pre-existing condition and don't want to buy cancel for any reason. Yes.
Okay, and did we cover the one for pre-existing conditions coverage? that would include such a condition as family member not traveling with you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we did get that.
We're down to what about if you bought the Icon Pass before you actually pay your first deposit for the trip to get the cheapest price, which may have a deadline before the trip sign up?
Great question. Okay, if you buy the Icon Pass, that's considered your first deposit toward the trip. In other words, any money you put down towards the trip, whether it's for the airfare, whether it's to the club for the tour. Well, sometimes the clubs include the airfare. Sometimes people buy their own airfare and just give the club the money for the land portion. Or if you buy a pass before any of that, that would be also considered your first money towards the trip. So let me rephrase. You should buy insurance within 14 days of the first dollar you put down toward the trip, whether it's Icon Pass or airfare or tour operator or club.
What if that Icon Pass's intent is for multiple trips and then you decide to go on one you didn't necessarily think you were going to go on, but you've got the pass that was bought 6 months ago?
If that Icon Pass is non-refundable and you miss one of the trips, but it's a multiple trip pass, you can file a claim. You would just have, what they would do is the insurance claims department would take the price you paid for the Icon Pass, divide it among the trips you had planned to use it for, let's say 4 trips, find out what you would be paying for each trip, and you would be refunded for that portion, that specific portion of that trip that you missed. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. Very interesting.
Here's another twist.
Okay.
To buy travel insurance for a trip which you are signing up for when the final trip price may not yet be fixed with air or other things, could you just make the best estimate when buying the insurance?
100% great question. It happens a lot. You can estimate. What we would do is, what I would tell you to do is estimate on the low side, because I don't want you to pay more money for the insurance at the time. So you estimate on the low side. Let's say a trip you think is going to be $3,200, but you're not sure. We'll put it at $3,000 for you because you'll pay a lower premium. And then when you find out for sure what the price is, all you have to do is notify me and we'll change it, and then we'll charge you the upcharge for that little difference. So yes, I would underestimate if you don't know, but definitely within that 14. So, because a lot of people, when they buy insurance within the 14-day time frame, they don't always know the exact price of the trip. So yes, we'll work with an estimate.
I have a question.
So I see that we're at 6:25 already. Should we look at moving on to the next topic?
Okay, let's do it. So shall we?
I was going to see if there are any other major big questions in here.
If there's questions about annual, I will be getting to that.
No, it's like, can you insure the entire trip VRBO?
Yes. Oh, VRBO, Airbnb. We do all travel insurance. I'm just talking to you about ski trips, but I have 50% of my ski trip business contacts me for personal trips, Disney, cruises, Europe, all the time, everything.
All right. Frequent problem with pre-existing conditions. We frequently don't find out about ski club trip specific insurance until months after the first payment. That doesn't make sense, but
Yeah, usually you know about the trip, you sign up, you leave, you go to usually you go to a club's presentation, and all these trips are available to sign up for. Isn't that how it generally works?
I think some organizations may not have gotten the information out to the people signing up on the trip. I think it's what that problem is.
Oh, yeah, that does happen. They have improved quite a bit. I do have people who say, well, I didn't even know about the trip or the trip cost, and it's past 14 days because I already gave them a check like 5 weeks ago. That's a problem.
all right. Let's see.
And that's going to experience within our own organizations. People just weren't used to the system of doing that yet.
Right.
Lisa, should we take any more or should we move on?
I'm looking, you can always increase your insurance amount. Is it? Okay, well, there's a question about if you bought annual insurance, but we'll hit that later.
Right.
The annual versus again. I think that's it.
Okay.
All right, it says, what happens when one person pays for the hotel and that person cancels?
Okay, very, very good. You're sharing a room, but one person pays for the hotel. Very simple. If you have reimbursed them, you have to prove that you have reimbursed that person for for the double occupancy. Because if you have a claim, you're going to have to show a check that you paid Lisa for half of the room. And once the travel insurance company claims department sees that, they know you actually paid for the double occupancy. So as long as you can prove that you repaid the person who paid the whole bill, you can get your money back. No problem.
All right, I got
If
one
you
last
purchase-
one, and we're done on this topic because we got 4 more to hit. If you purchase the insurance within the 14 days, can you cancel that insurance?
Excellent question. You have exactly from the date you buy a policy, you have exactly 14 days to review the policy. This is a legal requirement that all travel insurance companies and all insurance companies, I'm sure when you buy automobile insurance and home insurance, they also have a time frame in which you can review the policy and change your mind and get a refund. So travel insurance is insurance. So let's say you buy the policy today, July 16th, the insurance company gives you 14 days to review that policy. You can change your mind in 14 days and say, Myra, I don't want this policy anymore. I want my premium refunded. No problem. I can do that. After 14 days, the policy is never, ever refundable. I mean, even if you beg me, I can't do it. Because they don't want to. Go ahead.
All related to Venmo and Zelle.
Oh, Venmo and Zelle, no problem. When you pay with Venmo and Zelle, I mean, I pay with Zelle all the time for things. There should be a transaction, proof of a transaction that you paid with Zelle or Venmo. And that's your proof that you paid. There'll be a transaction date on there. There'll be the price on there. Never have to worry. I do Venmo and Zelle stuff all the time.
Okay.
And then, yeah, we need to move on. There was
Okay,
one thing,
on your list, what do you have on your list as number 2?
as number 2 would be the medical care coverage while traveling.
Great. I'm going to ask you to keep me up on this because I rewrote some stuff. So, medical care. This is always misunderstood. Number 1, the medical care allows you to visit any doctor, any ER, any clinic, any urgent care center if you're sick or injured domestically or outside of the United States. Go find the doctor, go get treated. Don't ignore. It could be for a minor injury or illness all the way up to being admitted to a hospital. Now, here's the kicker. All travel insurance companies, all, require you to pay all your medical bills at the time you are treated. And why is that? Because they don't believe you're really sick or injured or in the hospital. You could be sitting on the beach with a margarita, calling the emergency service and saying, I'm sick and I need $500 to pay a bill. So no insurance company will pay your bill for you. So you have to pay the bill up front. You have to get a receipt. We don't care what language the receipt is in. And then when you come home, you contact little old me, and I can advise you on how to start what's called a medical claim. Now, The downside is if you're, God forbid, in the hospital and you have a $10,000 bill, they also want you to pay that $10,000 bill. You have to be prepared to pay it. If you're having a problem paying a medical bill, which is very high, the insurance companies have told me that if you call them, there's an emergency phone number in all your policies to each insurance company that's open 24/7. You call them, and if you say, listen, I got a $50,000 hospital bill, I can't pay this. I don't have enough money on my credit card for $50,000. They will try to work it out with the hospital to pay your bill on your behalf. But that's only if it's a high number. Then if it's $5,000, they're not going to pay it. So that's medical. Now, there's one other thing about medical that people misunderstand. Medical evacuation. So I'm going to break it down into two pieces. There's medical rescue when you're on the slope and you're being brought down. In Europe, they charge you for that. And correct me if I'm wrong, in America, I don't think you're charged to bring people down from the slope. Am I right?
Right.
Okay. In Europe, they do. So if you are injured, or if you are injured while skiing and they bring you down from the slope and you're in somewhere in Europe, and I think it's also in Asia as well. Like I have a lot of people that go to Japan for skiing. If that happens and they charge you $500 to bring you down, pay it with a credit card. It will be covered under the medical evacuation benefit that's included in your policy. It's just you have to pay it first and then submit with the bill for reimbursement. That's rescue. So there's another part to medical evacuation. Now they've taken you down from the slope and you're seriously injured and you have a 10-day stay in a hospital. What kicks in after that is as long as you notify the insurance company that you've been admitted to the hospital, you have to notify them. If you're traveling alone, you have to give the ski trip leader your information, because if, God forbid, you are unconscious or you can't talk and you can't express yourself, you've got to leave that information with them before something happens to you. So on your medical insurance, on that plan is that emergency phone number to call. It's not an 800 number. It's a number, especially from Europe. It's an American USA number that you're going to have to call. So you should have phones that operate if you're going to Europe or Asia to ski, or even South America to ski, to be able to call United States. When you call them, tell them you're in the hospital, and they will immediately arrange for you to be transported back home, depending upon your medical situation. They will either put you on a commercial aircraft for something as minor as you broke your leg, and they will pay for it and set it up for payment. They might even put you in a business class seat, which happens usually when somebody does break their leg. They will pay for all of that. They won't pay your hospital bill. They'll pay to transport you home after your release from the hospital. So make sure you call them, because they'll take care of everything. And if you're seriously ill or injured, they may put you on what's called a special medical aircraft with nurses. They put you on, if you're really injured or ill, seriously, they're going to send you home with nurses. It's a seamless, it's my own husband. I'm sure some of these people already know because I've told them. My own husband was medically evacuated from the Middle East, which was a very long flight. The one thing they won't do is they're not going to put you on a flight if you physically cannot endure the trip. So if you're miserable and want to go home because you're uncomfortable and want to be near your home, but you're not physically able to endure a trip yet, you will not be cleared to fly. You have to be cleared to fly by the attending physician at the hospital where you are at. So it's very important. No matter how much you plead, no matter how much you cry, no matter how much you say, get me out of here, which is what my husband kept saying to me, you can't go anywhere unless you're cleared by the attending physician. So that's medical is one thing where you pay the bill for an outpatient visit. And then there's medical rescue and medical evacuation, which is when they transport you back home. Shall I ask for questions?
Okay, I got one right off. What if a person has original Medicare and a supplement G?
Great. I love, these people are so smart. Great questions. Medicare does not cover you outside of the United States. Doesn't cover you in Canada, doesn't cover you in Mexico, doesn't cover you anywhere outside the 50 states. However, sometimes your supplemental plan that comes with Medicare, sometimes it does cover you. For example, my understanding is Blue Cross Blue Shield, many of the Blue Cross Blue Shields from different states will cover you outside of the US. It's the same, but you still have to pay your bills up front, and then you have to submit a claim. They will not pay your bills for you. Nobody will pay your bill. So you would check with your Blue Cross Blue Shield if you had it. If you have Aetna, I understand that sometimes Aetna will cover you for medical bills outside of the US, but again, you still have to pay the bill up front, submit a claim. And then I also understand that United Healthcare very often covers medical bills outside of the US, but you have to check with them. What they don't include is they don't include the rescue. They won't cover you for the rescue down the slope, down the hill, and they won't cover you to bring you home. That's not included in their plans. It's only the medical bill itself that may be included. So if you check with your secondary insurance and find out if you don't have medical evacuation, you should still buy the medical plan from me because you're not going to get them. You're going to miss out on the medical evacuation.
I think that's pretty good.
That's great.
What you need to have covered.
Okay.
Fit to fly letter.
This part right now, looking at some of the questions, but some of this is, there's going to be a lot of people looking for that annual insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who needs to see who does one present a fit to fly letter from the treating source?
Right. Okay. So here, I'm going to tell you exactly how it works. You're in the hospital, you're laid up for 10 days. You notify the travel insurance company you're in the hospital. They then ask you which hospital you're in, what room you're in, who's your attending physician. I need the phone number of the hospital. They will ask, and they will contact your attending physician. They will talk to that attending physician through a translator if necessary. And they will also send some fax information over to that attending physician because they want to know how they're treating you, what's wrong with you, and if they're treating you properly. Because if you're not getting the proper medical attention, they're going to get you out of there right away. So I am telling you, if the doctor says we're going to perform surgery right away, and they say why, and the claims people, not the claims people, but the doctors at the insurance companies say, no, 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 no. No, this does not need to be surgically procedured right now. They will then tell the doctor, don't do that. And we're going to pick up the patient and bring the patient back to America. Or we're going to bring the patient to another facility at another location that's close where they'll get the proper attention. So that's the first thing. They always send information to the attending physician, a blank information form. The attending physician fills it out. Then they'll send another form to the attending physician saying, okay, we need to know if Lisa is now fit to fly. Can she endure a 12-hour trip? What does she need? Does she need a respiratory therapist? Does she need a nurse? What is her actual condition? And then the travel insurance company will declare that yes or no, that that person is fit to fly, as long as the attending physician has cleared that person to fly in writing. Everything has to be in writing for legal purposes. And then you're ready to go. They'll set you up. The ambulance will be outside. They'll take you to the airport. The nurse will be on the ambulance. Everything will be all organized and ready to go. It's very well done. The other thing I do want to tell you, which you don't want to hear, but you're also covered for what's called repatriation of remains. So that means, God forbid, if anybody dies on a trip, the travel insurance company will assume responsibility and fly your body back home and pay for it, pay the airline to bring you back home. That's part of the policy. Horrible.
All right, that was it for questions. I'd say move on to segment 3.
Okay, number 3. What is number 3?
It's medical evacuation coverage.
I just did that already.
Okay, next on the list. So number 4 is trip cancellation and trip interruption coverage.
Right. So I'm going to explain again. If you recall, there's a standard trip cancellation plan and there's a cancel for any reason trip cancellation plan. The standard plan allows you to cancel for the most common reason, which is illness, injury, or death to you, a travel companion or a roommate, or an immediate family member. The cancel for any reason allows you to cancel for that reason as well, illness, injury, or death, and you'll get 100% of your money back. And for any other reason under the sun, if you cancel, you will get 75% of your money back. And you have to buy the cancel for any reason within 14 days of your first deposit for any dollar you put down toward the trip. There's one other thing that people don't know or hardly know. Part of the trip cancellation benefit, there's another benefit which is very important called trip interruption, also included in every policy. Trip interruption says, yeah, Ryan's shaking his head. Trip interruption says, if you were sick or injured during the trip, it's the same reason, illness or injury, and you have to interrupt your trip, as long as you see a doctor to prove you are sick or injured during the trip. Don't go home without seeing a doctor, because if you go home without seeing a doctor, you can't be refunded for any loss of your trip. I've had that happen last week. I got a call where someone said, we just got home, we came home early, I wasn't feeling well. And the first question I said, did you see a doctor there? And the answer was no. And I said, no one's going to believe you that you got sick while you were on the trip. So I know it's a pain in the neck. It happens to me. My son lives overseas. I'm overseas all the time. And I get sick all the time because I have young grandchildren and I'm always I have to find a doctor. I don't know where to go. I have to ask my son to find. It's a pain in the neck. But if I don't, I won't be covered for the medical bills. So go see a doctor, because the trip interruption also covers you. Let's say the doctor says, you know what? You've got COVID. People are still testing positive for COVID, by the way. Nothing serious, but it stops you from completing your trip. So let's say you're quarantined, comes under the quarantine topic, and you have to stay in your room for 3 days. Make sure you have proof that you tested positive in writing. And then you can actually file a claim for the 3 days that you missed because you were quarantined for 3 days. That's what trip interruption does. It pays you if you miss part of your trip for illness or injury, not because you were unhappy and you didn't want to ski anymore. You wanted to go home because you didn't like something about the trip. It's only illness or injury. So there's trip cancellation and trip interruption. And they're all for the same reason: illness, injury, death. You're going to go to sleep, illness, injury, death. Those are the 3 main reasons that people cancel. And that's why that is covered. Questions?
We haven't had too much any new questions, Lisa?
There's one. If you have a telemedicine benefit, will that count as a doctor's visit?
Oh, great question. If you can, that's a great question. So you call your doctor while you're on your trip. If you can prove it, and I don't know how to prove it, if you can document that you called your doctor because you weren't feeling well, the answer is yes. So I'm not sure. I mean, I telemedicine with my doctor a lot, but I never look to see if there's any way that I can prove it. So if you can prove it or save the video, which has to be dated, so they see that you were on your trip when you contacted your physician, that would be covered. Good question.
Who been tried to,
Yeah, but
oh,
There's,
Oh, someone says it'll be in your patient portal. Great. I don't pay attention. That's fantastic. Yeah. Oh, one other thing I do want to say about cancel for any reason. I told you you could use cancel for any reason if you have a pet, if you don't want to, the snow conditions are bad, if there's COVID is on the rise again and you just don't want to go, you're just, any fear of doing anything, you would have to buy cancel for any reason. There's another reason that a lot of people use the cancel for any reason. If there's political or civil unrest, yeah, needless to say, I'm going to bring up the Middle East. Okay. I can't begin to tell you, when Israel was recently involved with Iran, I had people traveling to Israel and all of a sudden they got stuck. I had people who were stuck in Europe transferring to a flight to Tel Aviv, and they called me from Frankfurt and said, we can't continue our trip. They are not covered unless they have canceled for any reason. Civil unrest, political unrest, looting, any type of political civil unrest, you cannot cancel a trip with the regular standard trip cancellation unless you buy the cancel for any reason. So that's important because the world, I remember when Russia invaded Ukraine, I had people that were going to Russia and Ukraine, and they all canceled their trips, but they didn't have cancel for any reason. They couldn't cancel. They couldn't get their money back. War, I forgot, war is not covered unless you buy cancel for any reason.
and that's that next question was, what if the State Department issued a travel advisory?
No. Okay. I live in Washington, D.C. I'm going to tell you about the state. I live next to Washington, D.C. I live in Virginia. The State Department, if you go on their website, they list every single country almost that you shouldn't go to for a specific reason because it's dangerous. So if the State Department lists don't go to Kenya, for example, no travel insurance will cover that. It's only if in the news we can see literally there's a war going on in the Ukraine with Russia, there's a war going on in Israel with Iran, there's political unrest in South Africa, and they can get that information, meaning the claims department, they just see it, they just pull it up on the internet and they verify your story. But not whatever the State Department says is not trustworthy. I'm sorry to say.
Okay. A generic question. How about a last minute business obligation? Is that covered by cancel for
Okay.
any reason?
Work, depending on it's tricky. You would have to tell me, it's very involved. You could cancel for a work-related reason. Sometimes you would have to have been cleared already for the vacation. In other words, you would have to be approved for the vacation, and then your manager or boss came to you and said, I need you to work. That's number one. That I know for sure. And number two, you have to be at work for a certain amount of time. It can't be that you're there like a temp worker or only there for the first 6 months. There's a time frame involved as well. So you would tell me you would have to call me and say, am I covered for this? All of a sudden I have to work now. Am I covered for this? And then we just have to read the fine print.
Okay.
So the answer is maybe.
Gotcha.
Okay, the last line item that we have on the first slide before annual is quarantine coverage.
Quarantine, right. So quarantine coverage is usually before you leave home, if you test positive for COVID. COVID tests have to have your name on it, test results. You cannot take a home test because no one's going to believe that's your test result. You could have gotten the test result from your sister, brother, or someone else. So everything has to be documented with your name. If you test positive for COVID before you leave, you can definitely file a claim because that means you are sick. That falls under the category of being sick. And you can file a claim and get 100% of your money back. If you're on the trip and test positive for COVID and you're quarantined, that falls under the trip interruption benefit. As long as you provide test results with your name on it, you can qualify. You're going to be quarantined. You can't go anywhere, but you will be able to, this is really nice. You're going to file a claim for the days that you missed of the trip. And you can also file a claim for any additional costs that you were charged. Maybe they'll move you to another hotel. I mean, when COVID was raging, people were being taken out of hotels and put into different hotels. So all the COVID people were in one hotel and all the healthy people were in others. So it would also pay and reimburse you for any of those extra costs due to that COVID. So if you're quarantined, it is covered. Never worry about that.
Here's another question. If I have to pay all these bills while I'm in another country, can't I just submit this to my regular health insurance and not buy, this just moved on me, and not buy this travel insurance? I think that's kind of.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. So if you, let's say, if you're covered under your own medical care and you go see a doctor and you don't have medical insurance, travel medical insurance, you still have to, yes, you still have to pay the bill. You get a receipt. It'll be, the only problem is if you get a receipt in a foreign language, your travel insurance, your insurance company will require you to pay for translation. Travel insurance companies, if you buy a travel insurance policy, it could be in Swahili and they will translate it and they will not charge you for it. So that's only when you travel internationally. Yes, you can choose either to use your own insurance, but submit to your own insurance when you get home, or you can submit to the travel insurance. You have that choice.
Okay. So the last topic that everybody's been anticipating is the annual travel insurance coverage.
Yes. I've been selling a lot of annual, a lot. Okay. What is an annual plan? An annual plan allows you to take multi-trips during 1 year. It is not a calendar year. It's not January 1 to January 1. You choose the start date. So let's say we choose July 17th, 2025 to start the annual plan. It will remain in effect until July 17th, 2026. You can go anywhere domestically, anywhere internationally, as long as you're 100 miles from your primary residence. And number two, you stay no longer than 45 days on each trip that you take. No longer than 45 consecutive days. If you, for example, have a condo in Florida and you stay there for 3 months, you're not going to be covered for 3 months. You're only going to be covered for 45 days. Now, the annual plan is a full package. It includes medical evacuation, trip cancellation, and trip interruption. And there are 4 different prices. So let me explain how it works. I'll give you an example. One of the prices, the least expensive, which is really a fabulous price, is $280 for the full year. So you can take 15 trips. But the annual plan for $280 only covers you up to $3,000 for all your trip costs in 1 year. Most people, when they're traveling, their trip costs in 1 year are going to exceed the $3,000. Most people don't take that. But if you have like two $1,500 trips and they add up to $3,000, you could buy the $280 plan, because if you had to file a claim, you have $3,000 in your piggy bank to file a claim for a $1,500 trip if you're sick or injured, or if somebody in the family dies. So that's $280. A lot of people buy it only if they don't want to spend a lot of money. But there are 3 other annual plans and they all range in price. So I'm just going to quickly just say there's a after the 280, there's a $510 annual plan. There is a $635 annual plan. This is all per person. And then an $805 annual plan. And they all cover higher trip cost amounts. So the 510 plan will cover you for a full year that you choose the dates, up to $5,000 for all your trip costs in 1 year. Most people select that one. If you have very expensive trips, they usually buy the plan for $805 per person for the full year. And that covers you up to $10,000 per person for all your trips combined in 1 year. The key is if you are over 70, if you're 70 plus, the key is all travel insurance, individual policies that you buy when you're 70 plus are much more expensive than if you buy an annual plan. 70 is the, statistically, according to the travel insurance companies, 70 plus is when most people have the highest rate of claims. They cancel because they're sick. They cancel because they're injured. I've been doing this for 25 years, and I will definitely confirm that is the case. Most of my cancellations are people who are maybe late 60s, but most of my cancellations are 70 and over. So that's going to be the most expensive plan if you buy an individual plan. So when we speak, if you're definitely over 70, I'm going to offer you an annual plan just to compare to see if it's worth it. Age limit. Believe it or not, I think it's 80. After 80, you can't buy an annual plan. Hold on.
You buy an annual policy, covers trips made after you purchase the policy. In other words, it's not retroactive to a trip you have already made a deposit on.
Correct. Never retroactive. It's only for trips from the effective date, let's say July 17th, 2025 through July 17th, 2026.
Okay. If you have an annual plan with an end date in October and buy the same or more coverage again at the end date in October, are you exempt from the 14 days after deposit requirement?
Yay, great question. This person must know something. This person is yes, you have to buy, when your annual plan expires, if you buy a new one within 7 days, it's not 14, they make it 7. Within 7 days of that annual plan, the old one expiring, you are automatically covered for pre-existing conditions. But the annual plan does not offer a cancel for any reason, which I should have mentioned. You can only cancel your trips with an annual plan for illness, injury, death. There is no cancel for any reason that's part of the annual plan. But keep in mind, 7 days after your old plan expires, if you buy a new one within 7 days, you're automatically covered for any pre-existing conditions that may have developed in the previous year. So it's a good thing to buy within 7 days.
Here's a tricky one. If one person pays for the trip, husband and wife, should you split up the payments or does it not count towards the total annual maximum?
Oh, it's per person. So the annual plan, if let's say there's a husband and wife and they add up their trip costs and their trip costs come up to about 5,000 per person, they would then buy an annual plan for $5,000 per person for $510 each. Does that make sense? I would just ask you, what's your individual trip cost? In other words, if your trip cost was 10,000 for 2 people, I know you each paid $5,000 and I would offer you the $5,000 annual plan for $510 per person. Does that make sense?
Here's another little detailed one. Assuming that the annual plan is a standard plan and not a change for any reason type plan, is that correct?
That is correct. You cannot cancel for any reason with an annual plan.
And then I think this one is regarding change for any reason. Does the 14 days apply to your company's policy or is that uniform? But I believe you're selling something at the board.
All right, I'm going to clarify. I'm a broker. When people call me, a lot of people who are watching me, when they call me, I offer them different options at different price points because I'm looking at different companies. But so you know, so you don't waste your time, all travel insurance companies have the same rules, the same regulations. The 14-day rule is the same for every travel insurance company on the planet. The cancel for any reason, 14 days, the pre-existing 14 days, all the same with every travel insurance company. And the reason that is that the travel insurance companies have to submit their policies to the state in which you live, to your state insurance bureau, and they have to approve the policy and the pricing. So every state might vary a little bit in the fine print, but generally they're all the same.
Lisa, you picking out any other winners here? I'm looking for a couple details.
Well,
here.
did you catch if you max out on the annual plan, can you just buy a new plan?
Yes, absolutely. So let's say you canceled 2 trips and they equaled $5,000 and you bought the $5,000 annual plan. Well, now you're taking trip 3 and you have nothing left in your piggy bank for trip cancellation coverage. You can buy a new annual plan for $5,000. Or you can say, Myra, hey, I don't want to spend $510 for the $5,000. Give me the $3,000 plan and I'll pay $280. You can do that. You don't have to buy the same plan.
Okay. And then there was another one here.
What about the one contact information? Are we putting that in here somehow?
The what?
Myra's contact information, somebody asked.
Oh, yeah,
Definitely. We can type that in there. So this one says if your annual plan expires on August 8th, but you have to purchase your trip on June 15th, do you need to purchase a new annual plan at that time to cover the new trip?
Great questions. No, because your annual plan that's valid until August 15th will automatically be grandfathered over to the new plan that you buy. So you don't have to do anything early. You wait till August 15th and you buy a plan that goes into effect within 7 days of August 15th.
You just so you just have to extend or buy a new plan for the next year.
for the next year. That's all you have to do. But within 7 days, that's the key.
Right.
I know, Larry.
And you have travel insurance automatically renewed.
Unfortunately, sometimes they'll send me a notice, an email notice. It says you're due to renew your annual policy. Sometimes they do not. So the onus is on you to put it on your calendar to remember to contact me to buy it again.
All right, then here's if you have a legitimate injury abroad rather, and coverage by the travel insurance, does that travel insurance coverage continue at home for the same injury?
No, that's why it's called travel insurance. It only applies while you are traveling. Once you come home, you can't file any claims for any type of care while you're home, when you came home, due to that injury that happened abroad. It only covers medical bills while you were abroad. That's it. No travel. I just want to make sure no travel insurance company does this. This is a standard regulation.
Another question,
Go ahead, Mark.
covered 75% versus 100%. I believe the 100% is injury, illness, or death.
Correct. And 75%, if you buy the cancel for any reason, is for anything else that you cancel for.
Someone asked what the $635 plan.
Oh yeah, I didn't say. $635 covers you up to $7,500 per person for all your trips in 1 year.
If our first trips aren't until January, February for the annual plan, can we purchase late December to get the most value?
Yes, you can, but be careful. I'm giving you a warning. If you fall and break your leg in November and you don't have that insurance policy in place and you can't go on that January trip, you're not covered to get a refund. So you have to make sure to calculate, if you're leaving, let's say January 2nd, the travel insurance annual plan should go into effect at least 2 or 3 months prior to that first departure date, because people, unexpectedly, you can be injured. You also have to consider, if you're taking 2 or 3 ski trips, and this does happen, you can get injured on the first trip and you cannot go on the second and third trip. So that annual plan will cover you for those second and third trips to cancel. You just have to prove you were injured on don't forget, you always have to prove everything. So you have to prove you were injured on the first trip.
Yeah, and there was another question asking, what if I wasn't injured on the first 2 trips? The third trip is under 5,000. Will it be covered under the policy? And I believe it's only going to come up on the trips that you're injured on.
Right. It only come off that you're in the trip that you're injured on. Correct.
Don't have to tell them that.
What? Say it again.
You don't have to tell them that you weren't injured.
Right.
What if you have a number of trips scheduled that total over $10,000? Do you then have to purchase multiple policies?
Great question. You're not allowed to purchase. It's illegal. You can only purchase 1 policy per person per year. So if you have more expensive trips, and I have clients that do have more expensive trips, you just don't buy the annual plan. Because, for example, if you have a $15,000 one trip, $15,000 per person, and you buy the $10,000 annual plan, If you had to file a claim because you fell and broke your leg, you would get a maximum of $10,000 return. You wouldn't get all your money back. So you wouldn't buy an annual plan for an expensive trip.
So on that line, if say you're doing 2 or 3 ski trips that would fall under your 10,000, maybe still these days, it's getting close.
Yeah.
Could you buy an annual plan to cover those? But then if you're also doing 1 or 2 big $5,000 to $10,000 destination tours or cruises, buy that individual insurance for those.
Right. Or if you're a gambling person, if you're the type who's willing to gamble, you can buy a $10,000 plan. I tell this all the time to people. Let's say if you add up all your trips, they really come to $15,000, but you're a gambling person. If you have 2 or 3 trips, statistically, I'm going to tell you, most people do not cancel all 3 trips. It very rarely happens. I will tell you it does if you're either in a serious accident and you can't take any of them, or if you're diagnosed, God forbid, with cancer. Those are the 2 phone calls that I will get where they can't go on any of their trips. But 90% of the time, nobody cancels all of their trips, statistically. So you could buy a $10,000 plan for $15,000 for all your trips combined, because you probably won't use all of that money to cancel.
Yep. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is there coverage for weather delays or flights?
Great question. Yes, all travel insurance, including the annual plan, only covers, because this person knows it only covers for weather delays. So let me explain the thought process here. The airlines have no control over the weather. So the travel insurance company says, no problem. If you are delayed due to weather, if the flights are canceled due to weather, you have to get proof in writing that American Airlines flight number 70 to, I don't know, to Aspen was delayed 12 hours on such and such a day due to weather. It has to say due to weather, because the insurance companies, no problem if it's something out of their control. They will not cover anything if the airline is at fault, if the airline is mismanaged, if the airline is incompetent. For example, if the crew doesn't show up, which has happened, you're not covered for anything. If the flight, I've had people where the flight was overbooked and people were taken off the flight, you're not covered for that. You're only covered for weather delays, and the weather delays have to be a certain amount of time. In other words, if the flight is delayed an hour, you're not going to be covered for anything related. You're covered for getting food, you're covered to get a hotel room, but you have to be delayed at least 6 hours in order to be reimbursed for any hotel stay or for food. There's always a limit to how long you have to be delayed or canceled. The flight is canceled, you're covered for that as well, but only due to bad weather. Now, there are times when you will be covered, and it depends on the situation if there's a mechanical problem. But the airlines, I don't know if this has happened to you, I'm sure it has. The airlines are responsible legally. I used to work for the airlines. They're responsible to give you, if there's a mechanical problem, legally, they have to give you a voucher for a hotel stay that night and for food. So you would get it from them if there's a mechanical issue, and you would file a claim with the travel insurance company if it's a weather issue, because the airline is not responsible to you if there's a delay due to weather, because they have no control.
Okay, here's one. I paid a deposit for a trip several weeks ago, so I can no longer buy cancel for any reason insurance. Is there any other coverage I can purchase now that will cover in the event of a death of my family members shortly before or during my trip?
Absolutely. You can buy what's called the standard trip cancellation plan, which is the one that only allows you to cancel for illness, injury, or death. And you can buy it, you should buy it, there's no deadline, but you should buy it sooner rather than later, because you can't buy it after, God forbid, somebody dies. It has to be before something happens. Yes, 100%.
Okay. What about misconnections?
Oh, very good question. Misconnections happen in the winter all the time. Also, let me throw in delayed luggage, because I can tell you, I have the claims that I have the most of in the winter is missing luggage and misconnections due to bad weather. It's always due to bad weather. So misconnections, yes, are covered, but again, there's a stipulation that you have to misconnect from one arrival to your next flight. You have to misconnect. You've got to be about 6 hours misconnection. So if you arrive late, your flight is already taken off, you have to be stuck at that first airport where you misconnected for at least 6 hours. If it's only for 2 or 3 hours, you're not covered for anything. There's always time limits on everything that travel insurance, all the benefits. Now, there was misconnection, and then there's delays of luggage. Okay, that's a very big claim every winter. If your luggage is delayed, you have to get proof in writing from the airline that your luggage is delayed. You have to wait sometimes 6 hours, sometimes 12 hours, and you can only go out and buy, and this is really important because you guys ski, you're only covered for toiletries and clothing to buy a certain amount of money. There's a limit. You cannot buy ski equipment. You cannot buy ski clothing. You cannot buy anything to do with skiing. It is not covered. So if your luggage is delayed and you're upset with United Airlines, it's usually United that I get most of the complaints. If you do, you have to take it up with them. But you can go out and buy clothing and toiletries, save your receipts, get the proof in writing from the airline, which they'll send you an email or a text message. You can contact me and you can file a claim. You'll get that money back. Up to, sometimes it's $200, sometimes it's $300, sometimes it's $500 a person. It depends on the policy you buy.
Does
Equipment
standard,
that was delayed.
go ahead.
I get it. It happens every year. To rent skis is not covered if your skis are delayed or lost by the airline.
So I'm getting multiple requests for your number and email. How about if I just announce that and now everybody can grab their pens? That makes sense, Lisa?
Sure, Cheryl's already put her phone number in.
Yeah, does everybody get that as they're reading this?
Yeah, I mean, it shows up for everybody to see. That's why it'd be, if you type it in, if you type it in, everybody can see the email address too.
So you have myra@travelprotectors.com. And what do you have as the phone number?
703-443-9055.
Correct. That's it.
Was that right for your email?
Do the
Travel
email,
protect-
what was the email again?
Myra@travelprotectors.com. I just typed it in.
Ah,
You seeing any questions that we missed, Lisa?
There was one that said, does standard insurance cover a cancel airline ticket cost if it is non-refundable ticket?
Yes, if it's non-refundable, as long as you tell me that you want to cover the non-refundable ticket and you give me the price, I'll tell you what the insurance will cost you to cover it, 100%.
And one more time on Myra's phone number, 703-443-9055.
I'm in East Coast time. I am in Virginia, but it's really a suburb of Washington, D.C. All of my neighbors are either work for the government or the State Department. That's why, I kind of know the skinny on stuff.
Um, awesome. This has been great. Tons of wonderful information. Myra, thank you so much for your time and your knowledge.
I have to say one thing. I think if Janet Jones from Kentucky, from Lexington, is she in the house? If she is, she called me today and I didn't have time to return her call, so I'm sorry.
Don't know for sure. Everyone, thank you for participating. This is why we keep doing these type things. Mark, thank you for coordinating this. And everyone, as
Yep.
soon as Zoom sends the recording over to the webmaster, I'm sure he will post it on the Federation's website, probably within the next week for sure.
Loved it. If you want to do this every year, I'm ready.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Miss you. We'll
And a-
see you soon.
And a quick
All right,
thanks to
yeah.
Lisa Braggie, Education Chair, for doing all of this.
Yes, thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Myra.
Thanks, everybody. Great program.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
Myra.
y'all.
Thank
Bye,
you,
guys.
Myra.
Take care, ladies and gents. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheryl, you on? Cheryl?
I don't know, we lose Cheryl?
She must have disappeared. Mark, I had actually let me stop the recording.